the one thing that it kind of does make you give up is being able to sort of keep the fact that you can't see a secret from people. Obviously, as soon as they see the dog, they know that you're visually impaired or blind. And that was something for me that I was very conscious about, and I didn't want to be judged for, or I didn't want to be put in a box for. But what I found is actually very positive. And through having Nancy, I've realized that actually it does really help for people to just be aware of the fact that I can't see as well, because they're just very understanding. People will move out of my way. People will talk to me a lot more just because I've got a dog and it's a way in. It's an icebreaker. When I cross the road, people are very understanding about, you know, keeping out of me in Nancy's way. Just all of these little things. So, for example, when I work, sometimes I'll go out for lunch, and I've noticed that when I go into shops and bakeries and things like that, people are just more understanding about the fact that I may not be able to catch the cashier's eye, and they'll talk to me and reach out to me. So that just makes a huge difference to my confidence, because then I know that I don't have to worry about making a fool of myself so much. I think one of the things that mentally really is difficult when you have a visual impairment or any kind of disability or anything that makes you struggle doing things is the fact that you just constantly feel like you're going to make a fool of yourself, and that's something that everyone universally worries about. But obviously when you have something that makes it harder for you in social situations, you just feel like you're going to embarrass yourself constantly. And so just having that support of having the dog there and people just knowing that maybe I just need that little extra help, it makes things much less awkward for me and makes me feel a lot more comfortable in my own skin and to do things that maybe I would have shied away from before because I wouldn't have wanted to make an idiot of myself, sort of thing. I've learned an awful lot through having Nancy. There have been some ups and downs. There have been some times when Nancy has decided she doesn't want to go to work, for example, and when we walk along, she will just stop in the middle of the pavement. So that's always a challenge, but I've had really good assistance from guide dogs themselves, the charity. I've had trainers coming out and telling me how to deal with that, to not make a fuss of her and to just be calm and just keep telling her to go forward, and then after that she will respond and do what you want her to do. So that's all really good, and the hard points and the good points have made me learn a whole lot about myself and about being visually impaired and having a guide dog. It has absolutely changed my life and made me more confident. So I've had a really, really positive experience despite my doubts at the beginning.
Yeah, really impressive, really great to hear. Were you at all eligible sort of before this, or was it that your sort of sight deteriorated to a point where you became eligible for a guide dog?
Yeah, so of course there is of course this misconception that to have a guide dog amongst the general public you have to be completely blind, and of course that's not true at all. You can have some amount of useful vision, and in some ways sometimes it can be helpful to have some useful vision just because you can work with the dog. You know, I can sort of see things, albeit very much at the last minute, but it sort of helps just to have that little bit of sight. But no, I mean, since my sight has deteriorated, I think I would find it much more useful. Obviously, it depends on your level of vision and exactly what you can see as to how much use a guide dog will be. But I would say to anybody who is partially sighted or visually impaired or blind, to at least have that initial chat with guide dogs if you think it's something that you might want to get into. Because I remember when they first came on an initial visit to me, it's just a very informal chat. It's not an assessment, it's not a test, it's not anything like that. It's just you chatting to them and finding out if a guide dog is the right route for you to go down. And like I say, that's determinant on so many different factors that you probably can't figure it out on your own, and you just need that little bit of input from people who know more about it to say yes or no, and also if they say no, they're very good at offering different alternatives, such as my guide, somebody else to guide you, or using different visual aids to help you. So it really helps to decide what is best for you, and it just so happened for me that having Nancy was the right way to go for me. But I think certainly since my sight deteriorated, I felt that I needed her more, because I found that more and more I was relying on other people to sort of hold their arm and to to not be independent as much as my sight got worse and worse, and I didn't like that. So I thought, okay, this is the point in my life where I need to kind of get over my being scared about other people knowing I can't see, and actually accept myself as I am and embrace my independence and do whatever it takes to make myself as independent as possible. And that's when I first thought about, taking the plunge and getting a guide dog.
And can you sort of detect any kind of, obviously it's difficult with the mix of sight impairments that we have, but can you detect any sort of particular sort of aniridia angles, as it were, to your mobility now? So just for example, when it's particularly bright, for example, is that kind of examples when kind of the aniridia specifically has an impact and where having a dog is particularly useful?
Yes, I'm definitely very affected by light, and I find it very difficult because while I have sunglasses, a wide array of sunglasses that I can wear, sometimes it's very difficult because obviously where you're walking outside, the light's constantly changing. Not only is the sun, coming in and out behind the clouds, but also depending on where you're walking, it might be under shade, it might be through trees, so the light and obviously going in and out of shops and whatever else indoors and outdoors, the light is constantly changing. And so obviously as somebody with aniridia, that is something, a major factor that you kind of have to cope with all the time. And I remember when I first was matched with a guide dog that incidentally it was too slow for me in the end, it didn't work out. But I remember coming home to my mum and dad and saying, that has really made a difference to me because I don't have to constantly worry about am I, can I see, I need to put my sunglasses on or take them off or try and see. I just felt so much more confident in walking along and not having to worry about that change in light because I had something that was, guiding me, and I felt more confident about not worrying about all of the different obstacles that I have to get around where the light is difficult for me and where it's sort of all either too bright or too dark. So that is something, and especially the change of light when you go inside and outside, my eyes do take, as with most people with aniridia, they do take that bit longer to adjust. So just having that freedom to walk around and not have to constantly worry about adjusting the light with glasses or with, putting your hand over your eyes or anything like that, it really makes a huge difference from an aniridia standpoint. I just think it's been really helpful to me.
Mm-hmm. And similarly, would that also mean that you kind of don't have to sort of squint so much when it is very bright, so you sort of don't have to rely on your sight so much, perhaps?
Yes, exactly. It's much less sort of me having to use my eyes a lot, and obviously they get very tired when you're having to try and squint all the time and see where you're going. So I think that was the main thing that I talked about when I had a guide dog, was just feeling that much more relaxed and not having to really try hard to see where I'm going or what I'm trying to avoid, what obstacles might be in my way. So I think, that has really made a difference to me in terms of my comfort levels and how relaxed I feel, and, the lack of sort of stress or anxiety because I'm trying to use my eyes and squint so much. That's definitely emotionally and mentally sort of made things, and physically on my eyes, just made things a lot more comfortable.
Mm. Okay, excellent. If there aren't any more questions, I think we'll call it a day there. So thank you very much, Fern. I really appreciate you giving up your time today, and enjoyed rewatching your video, and I hope more people will benefit from it as well. I'm sure they will if they spend the time watching.
Yeah, really no problem. Thanks for having me, and thanks for letting me talk about things. It's really good what you're doing, and happy Aniridia Day, everyone.